Today we are going to continue working on the mountain.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Jordan here. So yeah, today we're going to continue working on the mountains. The first thing I need to do is extract all 4 modules from the city and bring them upstairs so we can get to work. Of course, we started working on this project a long time ago. We modified those road plates there in the residential area, created the base structure for the mountains, and then we started working on the foots of the mountain with all the brick there just above the campground, and then we started working on more of the rock work, making our way to the top. But as you can see on the right side there and also on the left side here, we've still got a bunch of exposed structure. So today in this video, we want to try and get all of the brick and rock panel work done. How exciting is that? So Mrs. Bricksie and I wanted to start working right over here because of course we can finish this bottom section and then work our way to the top of the peak.
Lego City Mountains, Lego City Mountains, Lego City Mountains.
So once again, we're just trying to get the base construction of this mountain done. So we're using a lot of those pre-molded rock pieces, specifically the corner ones. They're so awesome. There's just so many available studs on those corner rock panels so that we can deck them out with slopes and all of those detailed type parts after we get the base construction done. Once we build up to the same height as the base structure there, that being the 16 by 16 black Technic panels, we can then bridge across with plates. There's definitely lots of different pieces that are going into creating the proper foundation for the rock work, just so that when it bridges across to those 16 by 16 panels, it is fully stable. Because we're actually going to create quite a ridge here because we want to place some of the Ninjago temples on the first ridge of the mountain. And we're actually going to create 2 different ridges. There's going to be one that's going to host the taller Ninjago temple on the left side there, and then there's going to be a second ridge which is just a couple rock panels higher than that, which is going to hold the other Ninjago temple. So because we've decided to integrate the temples onto this mountain, it's going to take away the ability for us to make this mountain super tall. However, this mountain is going to be in the foreground right above the residential area and behind the campground. So it's the first mountain. We plan on making the second mountain a lot taller than this one here. We're creating all sorts of substructures. For example, sometimes we have those rock panels going up and we have to put a support 16 studs in behind that, and then a 1 by 16 brick will sort of bridge onto the support, and that allows us to put plates in there. So there's lots of like funky Mills style work going into this massive structure.
The song you're hearing in the background was created with Suno.
Thank you so much, Suno, for sponsoring this video. I found Suno, a music creation platform, while searching for a unique way to make custom background music for my videos. And to say the least, everybody, I'm blown away. The amazing thing about Suno is the fact that it's so easy to use. After signing up, I was able to create a bunch of custom tracks within minutes. All you have to do is type in a song description, choose some inspiration or genres, hit create, and then boom, just like that, you've got a custom track with lyrics. It's actually mind-blowing.
Everything is awesome.
It's actually so crazy, like wow. Not only can I use Suno to create custom music for the background of my videos, but I also can use it to surprise friends and family. Just drop them a little custom song. How funny would that be?
Happy birthday!
I was actually showing my mom and Jose the platform, and they too just couldn't believe it.
Mrs. Bricksie, you are the best.
If you want to have fun creating custom music, check out Suno by scanning the QR code or head over to suno.com.
Turn the world into a plastic town. Every piece a king, no crown.
Now our number one goal is to make sure that this thing doesn't turn out to be a square, which is quite easy to do when you're working with rectangular pieces. But we have to remember that this is the base structure, so of course it's going to look a little bit square because it's constructed with square elements, and there's none of those like slopish style elements or detail elements going onto the mountain today. But you can see we have that large ridge on the far left there where you can see Mrs. Bricksie working in the light blue. And then where I'm working on the right there, we have the taller ridge. So we've got some solid foundations for some structures on this mountain, which is going to make it pretty unique.
Brick by brick, I'm climbing high, reaching towers, touching sky. Brick by brick, my soul ignites. This is the best, this is my fight.
So yeah, just like that, we finished the base rock work for like the first layer of this mountain. It's pretty much 360 degrees, which is pretty darn neat. This is the first time we've ever created a 360 degree mountain. You can see there's lots of space on those ridges for the Ninjago buildings. And it's got sort of a unique shape to it. It's not like a square. There's lots of inlets and outlets and bulges and stuff like that. But I think these temples are huge, so they're going to be pretty difficult to work onto a mountain just because it's hard to work in that scale. But I think we're doing a pretty good job so far. And now I think we need to continue working on the other side right here and sort of work our way up to that next tier. So first things first, spin the mountain 180 degrees. And then guess what? We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to work our way up to the next tier. Just got to make sure we don't overlap any pieces and accidentally lock our modules together, because once again, this is 4 large modules. Now you'll probably hear that my voice is a bit hoarse today. That's why I am wearing a mask in this section of the video, just because I didn't want to get my wife sick. Let's face the fact, she probably got me sick to begin with. It's like a cycle in our house. It just keeps going round and round and round. Now when you look at the mountain here, what's going on? On the bottom, there's all the exposed support structures. Why is that? Doesn't make any sense. I thought we were building a 360 degree mountain. Well, this is actually going to connect to another mountain, and it's going to be part of a mountain range, and we're going to build twin mountains. So where you see the colorful exposed support structure there, well, that's going to go right up against another mountain, which will have approximately the same footprint as this mountain here, but it will actually be a lot taller because that mountain is going to support our Mountain View Observatory at the very top. And what our plan is to take all that space that we allocated to the ridges, for example, and eliminate that from the ridges so that we can build it taller, but then reallocate that space to the very top of it so we have space for our Mountain View Observatory, which I think sits on just a 32 by 32 base plate. So that should be quite the challenge, but I look forward to it because building Lego City mountains is pretty repetitive, but pretty fun, and I think the end result is amazing.
Lego City mountains built with bricks. Lego City mountains built with bricks.
So this section that we're working on here is actually right above the campground, and there's no ridges, so it goes up a lot quicker. Like, it is quite steep, and there's a lot of studs to work with there. I'm talking like studs that we can detail later on. But we've essentially worked all the way up to the peak at this point. Like, these 2 sections are pretty much done. Although with that said, these are the 2 smaller sections. These are 2 by 2 base plates, whereas the other ones are 2 by 3 base plates. It's nice having it split onto 2 tables because we can pull the sections apart. It's becoming so tall that you sort of got to be able to access the center, and when we pull those 2 tables apart, we can do that very easily. So we're able to separate the mountain and put it back together. And now that we have those 2 sections together, we can start to try and visualize what the peak is actually going to look like. We've still got a lot of vertical space that we need to take care of there, so we got to spin it around and just sort of start building up. I did remove that Technic substructure just because I thought to myself, well, we may as well just build up and sort of go from there, sort of try and make it a circle as best we can so it doesn't become a square and build up. But with that said, we are out of the corner rock panels at this point. So pretty much everything has to be built with bricks or the rectangular rock panels. Of course, we could be building it with straight up slopes, but we don't have enough slopes to build this thing 100% slopes. Like, it would just be absurd how many we need, and we just don't have enough right now. So we are building it with bricks, as you know. But now we're just going to go through and try and build up to the peak and make something that looks like a peak of a mountain. And I'm actually going around with some light gray bricks at this point and just sort of adding them in, trying to round out some of the squarish pieces using those light gray pieces. So that being 1 by 1, 1 by 2, and 2 by 2 light gray brick. I'm just trying to round out some of those sections that have become a little bit squarish. But that's the other thing too, when we get around to detailing this with the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of slopes, and we use all of the different colors, that being green and brown and light gray and white at the very top to represent snow, we can also build up certain sections that have become sort of squarish using bricks to try and round them out. But once again, this is just like that base rock solid structure. You can really start to see it come together now as we put those two tables together and we start building the tip. So we've installed our two final 16 by 16s, and you can see the last one there at the very top, which will host the peak of the mountain. And it's really fun just sliding the different sections apart from one another and then sliding it back together. And then Mrs. Bricksie and I are just going to start throwing down a copious amount of 2x4 and 2x6 brick, all supported with more 2x4 and 2x6 brick in behind, along with some of those Technic supports, and build up to the very peak. And this is when we start to introduce white. Maybe we should have started the white a little bit lower, because maybe the snow should have started a little bit lower, but we can always add that, because for example, we're going to be adding white slopes to the top of the mountain. And I am adding some 1x2s and 1x1s in white just to add some more spackles of snow. And once again, this is going to be the shorter of the mountains in the mountain range, so we can always have more snow on the taller mountains within the range. But there you go, everybody. 20 hours later, Mrs. Bricksie and I have finished the base construction for our first 360-degree mountain. And in case you missed that time lapse there, here's another version of it shortened down to 25 seconds. So this represents 20 hours of labor just in 25 seconds. It's definitely pretty cool as the creator to see this mountain come together so quickly. It is awesome. It's always fun to see what we accomplished when you take the before and you compare it with the after as well. So here's the mountain before, and of course we're going to be placing it in the Lego City, and stay tuned because we've got some drone footage coming up as well. But there you go, you got a lot of exposed structure in the before clip, and here we go with after. Yeah, it's definitely a lot taller and a lot more complete, which is good, but once again, not finished yet, okay? It's all exposed stud. We've got to go through and detail it, and we are going to be doing that hopefully this week. But just bear in mind, this is not the finished product, but it looks like it could be a finished product from afar, that's for sure. We've got lots of nice space there for the temples, and I feel like the mountain has a good dimension. It's got lots of different bulges and cut-ins and stuff like that. And the peak, it's there. It's pretty tall. It's not as tall as I wanted, but it's pretty good. There it is with the temples placed. You can see what I mean about the temples being hard to work with just because they're such large structures. So they are pretty much as tall as the mountain in some cases, which is, probably not proper, but it is hard to build, a 10-foot mountain. With the space that we do have. We could start inverting stuff to try and bring it taller, but I'm happy with how it looks right now. I think it looks good, and I think once we invert some areas and bolster up the platforms for those temples, and we go through with a lot of inverted slopes and regular slopes and start to just give this mountain a better shape. And also when we pop in the vegetation and we create the reddish brown trails going up and we add more snow detail to the peak, it'd be very cool. You can even see some inversion happening there at the very top, and we placed a rock climber there just as an example. So I think once we go through and add all of those details, it would be very cool. And there's the open side that will connect to the twin mountain, which once again will be taller than this mountain, and we'll have that mountain view observatory, which we will have to winterize or snow cap when we place it on the peak. So yeah, it splits into 4 different sections. Here is one of the smaller sections. It's pretty cool when you look at it like this, like that's the face of it, and then you can get in behind it and see the support structure with all of those Technic elements going right to the peak. And then we have the second largest section there. Once again, these are 2 base plates by 2 base plates, so 4 base plates total. A lot of support work on the back and a pretty vertical face there, which will be right behind the campground. So it's cool. Campers will be able to go do some rock climbing while they're enjoying the outdoors. Then we have one of the larger sections here. Pretty rock solid. Of course, we could have done this with wood, but I wanted to do it with Lego. I thought it was pretty cool making the math all work out. So it's like 4 layers of 16 by 16s. And this is the largest section right here. Yeah. Pretty big. It's got the big face there that does look square, but the temple is going to go right in front of that. So the ideas of putting the temples on these mountains has sort of turned them squarish and taken away from the ability for us to make them super tall, but it's pretty neat seeing it split into 4 different sections like that, sort of like the exploded view, if you will. So how do you transport these things? Well, they're on Mills plates, so they're pretty easy to transport. There goes one of the big ones. I'm bringing them down and putting them underneath the table in the order that they need to be placed within the city. Not too bad, pretty strong. How do we place them? Well, place them, slide them into a spot there, one at a time. There we go. There's the first one right behind the campground, and the one that's going to sit beside it. And this is the backdrop for Ninjago. That's why, of course, we included the Ninjago temples on those ridges. Got the other one right in behind the campground there. And then the fourth and final one, woohoo, everything went according to plan. How big is this mountain? Well, it is 50 by 50 inches or 5 by 5 base plates, because we also have the base plates within the residential area there where the mountain actually starts. So yeah, it's 25 base plates, 27 inches tall. But it seems like it's taller because the platform that it sits on is already elevated 10 inches up off the Lego City table. So for example, the campground is 10 inches of elevation as well. So when you have a look at it from the city perspective, it seems a lot taller than 27 inches. And it's definitely pretty cool seeing it in behind the campground there and also by the residential. And you can see how much more space we have open for the future mountain range. Like all of the dark gray mills that you see there is all going to be mountain. And as I was mentioning, we plan on building a twin mountain right beside it with that mountain view observatory at the very top. It is definitely going to be pretty cool, but we've still got so much work to do with this mountain here. We still have to throw down all of the details. Right now it looks very gray, but just like all of the other cliffs and mountainous ranges within our city, we transform that gray look into snow or trails or grass or vegetation, whatever it may be, a combination of all that stuff. But I'm definitely really happy with the outcome of this one right here. It looks pretty epic. It provides a nice backdrop for all areas of the Lego City. And that's why we wanted to put the mountain range in the middle of the city, because it sort of divides the countryside from the downtown core, from the amusement park and all that. And it just provides a nice backdrop. We've wanted to have that forced perspective where everything gets taller as we move toward the city. So we have like the train yard and the zoo, and then the giant hill that sits beside the zoo, then the elevated platform with the residential area, and now the first mountain in behind that. And I cannot wait to detail this thing, and I cannot wait to continue building more mountains in behind it as well, and continue that mountainous range toward the Winter Village, of course, where we're going to have to add a lot more snow. I hope you enjoyed this video. Mrs. Bricksie and I put a lot of love into this. It's taken a long time to develop these mountains to where they are today, from the planning, ordering, and construction, and just like the will to create something this large. It has been a journey, and we cannot wait to continue the journey. Thank you so much for coming on by. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Have yourselves a great day. Bye for now.
Lego City Mountain.